studio. Pat was a legislator who was not a lunatic, and he now is working in the private sector. He's the head of the, what would you call it, the Grocers Foundation or Association?
Yeah, president of the Minnesota Grocers Association.
But that's not why you're here, is it? You texted Reavers, and had you not, we would not have known about this. The Minneapolis Federation of Teachers has booked a speaker for 5 p.m. this Friday at a Federation of Teachers Local 59 office on 8th Avenue Northeast, and they're bringing in a fellow who, by all accounts, is a virulent anti-Semite, Taher Herzallah. And you apparently thought this was worthy of note. Am I correct? That's why you texted Reavers?
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, as always, thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah.
It's good to see you. So, yeah, I mean, I had initially saw this, and
how did you see this?
Liz Collin on Alpha News had posted out there, and
because it's not on the Alpha News site. As of this morning, I didn't see it. Maybe I missed it.
I will check right now.
Yeah, I had seen it from Alpha News posted it. I think it was Liz Collin who posted it, and there was a post in there, and I was like, "This is one of these things that's so outrageous that you're like, is this really true?" So I called some friends in Minneapolis, and there is a silver lining to the story. There is some positivity to this, so don't let me forget about that. But it's 100% true. Like they're having this. This is MFT is the Minneapolis Federation of Teachers. That's the teachers union in Minneapolis,
right?
And there's a history of this going backwards. You may remember a couple of years ago when they were on strike, the president of the union declared that this was about the strike was about the patriarchy and destroying capitalism. And when I say
Callahan, isn't that her name?
Yeah, Greta Callahan.
Yeah.
And the good news is she's not the president of the teachers union anymore. The bad news is she got elected to the Minneapolis School Board.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, the only story I could find is from a site called TCJ, Twin City Jew, which is apparently a newsletter.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jew folk. I'm sorry. The Minneapolis Teachers Union's pro-Palestinian affinity group. So this would be the teachers who have an affinity for Palestine. Is bringing a speaker who called Jews enemy number one and called for bombing Israelis. And he's been brought in to talk to its members on Friday afternoon. His name is Taher Herzallah. He's the Associate Director of Outreach and Community Organizing for American Muslims for Palestine. And he'll be the featured guest Friday at 5 p.m., according to a flyer that was posted in the Teachers Lounge in one of the Minneapolis public schools. So I guess we would have to wonder why Liz Collin became aware of that flyer.
Well, I think I got a pretty good idea how it happened. I mean, obviously, there are
teachers who aren't affinities. Yeah.
There are teachers of the Jewish faith who complained about it privately and complained about it publicly. And I want to give a shout out here because we're talking about the fringe here, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to give credit to Mayor Jacob Fry of Minneapolis because he came out publicly and said this is wrong. We should be focusing on kids reading and writing and doing math, and this is just it's a lot of hatred and it doesn't belong. They don't this is not what teachers should be doing. Now, does this guy have a constitutional right to say stupid shit? Sure, yeah, he's got a constitutional right, but geez, I mean.
Well, let me tell you what he said. Herzallah said exactly a year ago. Well, not exactly, almost. October 17th, 2023. Anybody who has any relationship or any support or identifies themselves as a Jewish person or as a Christian Zionist, then we shall not be their friend. I will tell you that they are enemy number one, and our community needs to recognize that as such. And then this outlet said they attempted to reach Herzallah at the number on his website from a recent Anoka County Commissioner campaign. And that phone call was met by obscenity from someone who said they were not Herzallah, but they were an anti-Zionist Jew. The flyer for the event is called Being an Educator in a Time of War and Genocide. And the breakout topics include Zionism and anti-Zionism, how to talk to coworkers about Palestine, teaching Palestine in the classroom, In a statement, Minneapolis Public Schools said this event is not a Minneapolis Public Schools sponsored event. Minneapolis Federation of Teachers is composed of Minneapolis Public Schools educators, but is a separate entity from the district. Minneapolis Public Schools is committed to providing a safe and welcoming learning environment for all students. The president of the union, Marcia Howard, did not respond to emails seeking some comment about this.
I have audio of Herzallah. This is December 7th of 2023, courtesy of Liz Collin and Alpha News.
Anybody who has any relationship or any support or any or identifies themselves as a Jewish person or as a Christian Zionist, then we shall not be their friend. I will tell you that they are enemy number one, and our community needs to recognize that as such.
That's the quote I just read.
What community is he talking about?
Don't know.
What is this community he claims to represent?
Hey, kids, parents up in Columbia Heights, he's your parks director.
Is he really?
Yes. And he ran for commissioner in Hennepin County, and he was handily defeated by Mandy Meisner. She led him by 14,389 votes to 4,700 votes, with 19 of 19 precincts reporting just in this recent election. So he did not win the Anoka County Commissioner's gig, but he said he enjoys his role as a PhD student and teaching assistant at the U of M. He's a proud member of the Graduate Labor Union. I have no idea what that is. And then this was from his campaign website. He said, I'm running against the incumbent Mandy Meisner. I have a vision to bring fresh, innovative solutions to Anoka County. Okay.
Well, that is not really anti-Semitism and hating the Jews. There's nothing fresh or innovative about that.
No.
It just kind of blows me. It blows me away. It really does.
Yeah.
It's 2024. We just got done with a campaign where the chief allegation in the closing campaign against Trump is that he was the new Hitler, and like this is the crap that's going on in Minnesota right now. And it's shocking. And I feel bad for people who. I mean, imagine you're a parent of the Jewish faith, and you have sending your kids to the Minneapolis public schools. Like, you don't have enough on your mind. You're not worried about the issues going on, and now you got to deal with this.
One Jewish teacher in the Minneapolis public schools who was granted anonymity due to concerns of retribution said this is outside of what the union should be doing. Our mission is to ensure the safety and education of students. Political statements shouldn't be part of the union unless it has to do with district business, the teacher said. I don't want any of this. I don't want any of the teachers bringing this up and teaching my Jewish kids this. It feels like a misuse of power and authority. That teacher took down the flyer, which she said was her right as a dues-paying member, and she may file a complaint with the Public Schools Office of Equity and Civil Rights. He said, if you're Jewish, you are the enemy. I don't feel it's a safe space. I'm sorry, he still has to be foghorned Reavers for the use of the word space. Space has just come to mean a place where you don't have to hear an opinion you disagree with.
Right.
Right. And I'm not ripping the Jew for saying that, the Jewish teacher. I use the lounge to make copies, not run into this poster. I pay union dues for insurance and representation. That's the main reason people pay, not because we agree with all it does. And this goes on and on and on. I can read it, but there is no doubt that Taher Herzallah does not have the interests of all kids at heart here. No. He is virulently anti-Jewish.
And I just... we've talked about this before when I've been on, that a lot of times the problem here, it's not the left or the right, it's the extremes, right? And there's something about digital media and social media that empowers these fanatics. And somehow that they're trying to normalize this and make this acceptable behavior or just part of the normal discourse. It's insane.
Have you heard of this guy?
No.
No, neither have I.
Yeah, I mean, but apparently the MFT has, and it's just, presumably he's not doing this for free.
No, I would think not.
I mean, they're doing this in their facility, and I just, with all the problems that the Minneapolis public schools are going through right now, and the city of Minneapolis in general, you can't really have a strong state of Minnesota if Minneapolis is going tits up. if it's going bad.
You're not going to have a strong state of Minnesota so long as till we get rid of walls.
Well, he certainly is. He's in a different spot than he was 6 months ago, isn't he? And it's. I will tell you that from the bottom of my heart, what I'm happiest about from the last election is that the DFL trifecta was broken,
right?
And now you have you've once again returned Minnesota to a place where if the law is going to change, you need pragmatism and you need all Minnesotans involved in the decision-making process. One party can't ram things through.
So will this mean, though, that a lot of stuff, Pat, will be shoved down our throats before that takes place?
No, not at all. Because so keep in mind that it would take a special session to come back, and you need 68 votes to pass a bill. Well, I resigned from the legislature. 2 DFL legislators have resigned from the legislature, so they have the bare minimum of 68. Plus, they've got this issue with this felon in the Senate.
Right.
She's the 34th vote, so there's not going to be a lame duck session to kind of cram anything through. But it's going to take compromise for any laws to change. And I have to tell you, the results from the election in Minnesota are fascinating.
Yeah, they really are.
Because if you look at the most competitive districts, what happened is people. There's voters that voted for Harris. They voted for Klobuchar. They voted for the DFL or for Congress. And when they got to state representative, they flipped over and voted Republican. Even though Walz was on the top of the ticket, even though the DFL had so much money they could have bought campaign ads in Iowa, they massively outspent the Republicans. There's a subset of DFL voters, and I'm guessing they're GL listeners, who when they got to the bottom of the ticket, they said, no, there's just too much, it's too extreme. We got to have shared government. And they flipped over and voted Republican, and that's what broke the trifecta. And it's a dead tie, 67-67.
I want to stick to this problem.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I got off.
No, it's good information. But we need to bring in Fry here. Marcia Howard is the Minneapolis Federation of Teachers president. And Fry said he was going to reach out to Howard to discuss the event. I do not want a known Jew hater teaching the teachers that teach our kids, and I know I'm not alone, Fry said. The beautiful thing about kids is they want to be friends with everybody, and guiding them or advocating for them to dislike certain groups as enemies is a slap in the face to those Jewish students, a slap in the face to their families, and a slap in the face to a whole lot of teachers. We need to be rebuilding trust in our institutions, rebuilding trust in our school system, and that rhetoric does nothing positive and certainly creates distrust. We are trying to build it. Fry needs to win this. He needs to convince it, or this Marcia Howard needs to collapse on this. You can't have this guy in Friday. This shouldn't happen.
No, they shouldn't.
No, I realize there's a First Amendment. That's fine. But if it's the union owns the building, or at least rents it or pays the rent. I suppose they can do that, huh?
Well, I mean, they're accountable to their members, and their members. I mean, they are speaking on behalf of their membership, and it's for people to say, "Well, this is not a union leadership of issue, and it doesn't claim to represent all teachers." Are you telling me that if we had if the teachers union had a Hitler festival day or something there, that they would have that same mindset? I would hope not.
Well, these might.
Yeah, but Mayor Fry is 100% right, and I'm glad. And it's easy for me to sit here and throw rocks at the teachers union when they're so blatantly wrong on something, but there is a militant wing of the far left and he's an elected office holder in Minneapolis. Good for him for standing up for common sense and what's right. No, I really hope that they do cancel this event, because it's not appropriate. There's no justification for this, regardless of your views in the Middle East. I mean, first of all, these guys need to get their facts straight about what the history of this is. But just putting that aside,
they don't have it straight.
No.
Would they bring in a Ku Klux Klan member? I doubt it.
I would hope not.
Is this comparable to the U of M canceling frequent speeches from conservatives like they've done in the past? Or is this not comparable?
Well, I do think that it's comparable in the sense that look how quick they are to pull the plug when they get 5 people who show up complaining about something that they're offended, versus somebody who is blatantly advocating for hatred against Jews. And again, this is not a partisan thing. It's not left or right. Like, is this now? Are we living in a new Minnesota now where this is acceptable discourse in our state?
Well, I think there's a lot of states where this could not happen. It just would not happen.
Right.
I think this is a state ripe for this kind of thing to happen. We have been governed by an extreme left for so long. Well, not so long, at least during the Walz tenure, that it doesn't surprise me that this is happening here.
There is a greater acceptance and intolerance for the fringe on the left in this state than there used to be.
Oh, my God. Of course there is.
Yeah, and this is, the ignorance on this issue is bred of Marxism, right? And Marxism is based on the premise that all of us belong to two camps. You're either an oppressor or you're oppressed. That's it. There's nothing in between. Mm-hmm. And so they take a look at the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and they base it off of race, they base it off of wealth, they base it off of success, and they just cast the Israelis into the role of oppressor. Even though, if you look through thousands of years of history, they are the oppressed, they are the victims, they are the ones that suffered from the Holocaust. And that the level of ignorance when around this subject is shocking. And the fact that after the election we're seeing this perpetuated, it's not cool, and it shouldn't be happening.
Herzallah, who is a graduate student and teaching assistant at the U of M, ran for Anoka County Commissioner earlier this month in a nonpartisan race, losing to incumbent Mandy Meisner 75% to 25%. He is a member of the Columbia Heights Parks and Recreation Commission. Parks and Recreation Director Kevin Winschittel said that he doesn't appoint commission members, the city council does, but added that Herzallah has been professional in upholding his duties as a commission member. In May of this year, just this past May, at the People's Conference for Palestine in Detroit, Herzallah said that the Palestinian diaspora in North America has committed its martyrs for this cause. There are people among us today who might not be with us next year at this conference. And this is a reality because the liberation struggle requires sacrifice. And I know everyone here is prepared to make that sacrifice, he said.
Said Joe Souchere of St. Paul.
No, not me. While speaking at a San Diego mosque in December of 2023, he said that his organization is clear about their objective of a free Palestine from the river to the sea, which is a statement the American Jewish Committee and others say is anti-Semitic. Don't let anybody make you feel uncomfortable about saying that because we don't follow their moral authority, he said. But when we rule Palestine, we go by a different moral code, and so therefore it's incumbent upon us to rule Palestine again. We're Muslims. We believe in Allah. We will enforce. We will bring the rules that Allah gave us to this earth because that's what we were sent for. In 2014, we're going back 10 years, when he was the National Campus Coordinator for AMP, what's that, American Muslim something? He told the organization's national conference that the state of Israel is a lie, and he ended his remarks at the conference calling for violence against Israel. Israelis have to be bombed. They are a threat to the legitimacy of Palestine, and it is wrong to maintain the state of Israel. It is an illegitimate creation born from colonialism and racism, just like everything else the mystery says is.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And that's it. That's stuff at the end. I hadn't even read that before, but it's scary stuff. And and the question it comes down to are these sorts of thoughts, these sorts of values, going to be normalized in Minnesota? That's really the question. Is it acceptable? Is it again? No one's saying you can't say it. That's what the First Amendment is. You can't police ignorant speech. But is this going to be normalized in our state?
I said before this shouldn't happen. I should clarify that. Of course it should happen if you want it to happen, but it should be rejected.
Absolutely.
It should be rejected by both parties.
Right.
Yes.
I don't see this being a left or right issue at all.
Well, this is not being heard anywhere except this show. So
right.
maybe nobody even knows this yet.
I think you're right, Joe.
It was covered this morning on KSTP.
Oh, it was.
It was, and the only reason I know that is
Oh.
'cause I was getting lunch, and the news was on in the lunchroom.
There's also a news
John?
story on the Star Tribune.
There is?
Yes. Minneapolis mayor, Jewish group want teachers union to cancel event with anti-Semitic speaker.
Okay, when was it posted, John?
It was posted 11:53. I just found it.
So it's not in my paper.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's not in today's paper. And in part of that is apparently the school, the union, is meeting tonight to talk about this. So perhaps out of that.
The teachers who disagree with this have a big role in objecting to this.
Absolutely. Well, think about the stuff that goes on that we never hear about.
That's what I
Right.
asked Joe right before you came in. What do we not know about?
I mean, this is, there's a militancy and an extremism in this that is so incredibly dangerous. And the worst part is that I can't emphasize this enough. This is not all teachers. Like, I'm married to a public school teacher, right? So I see the sacrifices that teachers put in every single day. Sometimes it seems like they care about their kids more than some of the parents do, right? But this union leadership in Minneapolis, it's a small portion. They just hijack the agenda and they go totally militant and they bully the other members of the union into accepting this and normalizing it.
Wasn't the former president of the union Callahan?
Greta Callahan, yeah.
Remember the strike?
Yeah.
she was against capitalism.
Well, she's against capitalism.